Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. If you've already watched my 2024 reading goal wrap-up video, then you know that I'm fighting a cold. If you haven't watched that video, then just fair warning, I'm fighting a cold. So I don't sound my best, but I have several videos that are like end of the year wrap-up videos that I've been meaning to film over the past couple weeks, and they've just been building up and backing up because of my cold. So now that even though I'm not 100% better, I'm pretty well on the other side of it. I just, not everything is cleared up, so I don't sound great. But I'm just like, I'm going to get started and film these videos. So this is my third video today. So far, so good. This is going to be my last video today. I'll save the other two for tomorrow, which hopefully I'll sound even better tomorrow. We hope. But anyway, so just a quick apology for the way I sound. Yeah. Today's video is actually going to be my top 10 of 2024, which is always really exciting. I love telling you guys the books that I love the most in 2024. So all of these are obviously 5 stars, like really beyond 5 stars. Like they're so good. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to give a nonfiction shout out to Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer. This is one of the best books that I read this year. I absolutely loved it. It's not on this top 10 list because this list is for fiction. I don't mix nonfiction and fiction in lists together because I feel like they're just a completely different grading metric for me. To use the old overused saying, it's like comparing apples to oranges. You can't do it. And so this top 10 list is for fiction, but I wanted to give a special shout out to this book because I absolutely loved it and it was one of the best books I read this year. Anyway, so there's my little PSA aside. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Number 10 on this list is Laurel's Dream by Pepper Basham. This book was so good. It's the, I think, first book in her like Blue Ridge Mountain historical fiction series. This is actually the second book that I read in the series because I didn't realize that it was a series. I thought that they were all standalones. And so I read Heart of the Mountains first, and then I read this book. But this one actually comes first, and it's first in the timeline, so I would definitely recommend reading it first. But yeah, it's really, really good. I loved it. It's my number 10 book this year. Number 9 is Children of the Shadows by Erica Vesh. This one made it on this list solely because like the mystery part of it completely got me. Like I almost always like guess who the bad guy is, what the mystery is pretty early on in this book, and this one had me guessing the entire time, and I was just so amazed at Erica Vesh's ability to like lead me on this mystery that this book automatically made it into my top 10 for that reason alone. So it is my number 9 book. Number 10 is Cloaked in Beauty by Karen Whitemeyer. It's her new release. It just came out this month in December, so I'm not going to tell you anything special about it except to say that it is it's the third book in her fairy tale retelling series. She retells fairy tales based in historical Texas. So there's like no magic or anything like that like there would be in the original fairy tale. It's like very much how this fairy tale could have happened in real life in historical Texas. And this is a mixture of Little Red Riding Hood and Sleeping Beauty. And it's so good, guys. I'm not going to spoil anything for you because it just came out. But it is my number 8 pick for 2024. Okay, number 7 is A Thieving at Carlton House, again by Erica Vesh. This is her newest book. It's the Of Cloaks and Daggers book 1. And you've actually met these characters before. The main male character in this book, he is the uncle of the girl from the Thorndike and Swan Mysteries, which was Children of the Shadows is in that book. And the main female character in this book is a side character in A Gentleman's Spy, which is one of Erica Vesh's, I forget the name of that series. It's one of her earlier series that I also read this year. And so you see some old characters that you know come back together in this book, and it's really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It is number 7 of 2024 for me. Number 6 is Meeting Her Match by Jen Turano. Jen Turano makes me laugh so much, and Meeting Her Match was no different. This is the 3rd book in the Matchmaker series. All 3 books in the series have had me laughing out loud. So good, so funny. And yeah, I love laughing at books and Jen Turano and these books. This is the first Jen Turano series I've read. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be reading more Jen Turano because these books had me crying laughing. So this is my number 6 book of 2024 is Meeting Her Match. Then we have number 5, which is Hope Like Wildflowers, which is by Pepper Basham. This is the 3rd book in the Blue Ridge Mountain historical series. This series doesn't even have a name, but they go together. This one is about Kizzy. So Laurel's Dream and Heart of the Mountain both came out several years ago, and I don't think that it was supposed to be continued, but Pepper Basham did come out and give us Kizzy's story this year, and it was so good. It was so moving. It touched my heart, and I absolutely loved this book. So this is my number 5 pick of 2024, Hope Like Wildflowers by Pepper Basham. Then my number 4 pick is Wedding at Sea by Melissa Tagg. This is the 3rd book in the Muir Harbor series, and I absolutely adored it. I read it way back in January, I think. And so it was a while ago, but I do remember that I absolutely loved it, and it was great. And I knew pretty much when I read it, I was like, this is going to be in my top 10. So it was really good. My number 3 book is Loyally Luke. The 3rd and final Pepper Basham book on this list today is Loyally Luke by Pepper Basham. This book is the 3rd book in the Edgewood siblings series, and it follows Luke as he's so anti-romantic. He hates Hallmark. He hates romance. He's always like, oh, why do I have so many sisters who are into romance? And then he has a romance with a literal princess. It is a royal romance. And it was just so hilarious, watching Luke go through these things, and his sisters are like, this is so romantic. And he's like, stop. I don't want this. I don't want to be involved in, romance. This is so gross. And, but at the same time, he's falling for this girl really hard. It is so adorable. I absolutely love this book. I was smiling from ear to ear, beginning from to end. And I love Luke in the first 2 books. Am I yelling? I feel like I am, but, I don't know, because my ears are clogged up, so my voice is very loud in my own head. So I feel like I'm yelling. I hope I'm not yelling. Anyway, side note, I'm sorry if I am. Anyway, I love Luke. Luke had me smiling. I love Luke in the first 2 books, and giving him his own book was just perfect. He's amazing. This book is amazing. It's number 3 of 2024 for me. Number 2 was Hold Her Close by Hannah Curry. This book came out in October, and I was on the launch team for it. It is the 3rd book in the Crown of Promise series. Does that sound right? I don't know. My series name might be wrong. But it is the 3rd book in this series, and it follows the oldest daughter, Rose, who has a chronic illness. And I have a chronic illness that is a disability for me. It keeps me from working a traditional job. It keeps me from doing a lot of things that normal people do. And I put that in quotation marks because I'm normal too. I'm just a different kind of normal. But Rose's struggle with chronic illness in this book, and it had such a deep spiritual message. She prays, and she has such a strong faith, and her prayers in this book, her prayers in this book are so similar to things that I have prayed since being diagnosed with my chronic illness, which is dysautonomia, and her feelings and her fears. Like, I related to every single one. And I was just in tears in this book because I just felt so understood, you know? Like, I just related to Rose so much, even though our chronic illnesses are completely different. But I just felt so seen by this book, honestly. And it had me in tears. I can't tell you how much I love this book. For me, this book was a very personal choice for this top 10 list. Like, it probably didn't impact many other people the way that it impacted me because of my own circumstances. So, yeah, that was Hold Her Close is my number 2 of 2024. I absolutely loved it, and it's very near and dear to my heart for those reasons. Yeah. So now, without further ado, we're going to have our number 1 book. So we'll do a little drum roll. Our number 1 book of 2024 is The Letter Tree by Rachel Fordham. Oh my goodness. This book, just hug it. I loved this book. Oh my goodness. So I read this in March. I picked it up from the library, and I was skeptical because, like, a lot of people were talking about it. And I picked it up because it had, like, kind of You've Got Mail vibes. You've Got Mail is one of my favorite movies. I love the letter kind of thing. I love epistolary things. And so this book, it takes place in the 1920s in New York. And it's like the 2 children of feuding businessmen have been writing letters to each other since they were children, but they don't know it's to each other. They're, like, anonymous. And so when they figured out separately that, like, they're the other person, all this stuff happens. So I was really, really excited about this book because it had, like, You've Got Mail vibes and letters, but I was also a little skeptical because a lot of people, like, described it as very Romeo and Juliet, and I hate Romeo and Juliet. It is my all-time least favorite Shakespeare work. I don't like the whole star-crossed lovers kind of thing. And so I was pretty skeptical when I picked it up, but I loved it so much. Like, it did have the feuding family things, but it did not give off the, like, weird, tragic Romeo and Juliet roll your eye kind of thing that I experienced with some other star-crossed lover storylines. It was just so good. Like, it was so good. I love this book. I remember and I read this in March, so at the beginning of the year, and as soon as I, like, flipped the back cover over, like, as soon as I finished, I was like, this one is going to be hard to beat for number 1 of my 2024 books. Like, I just knew as soon as I read it, I was like, this is the top. It's going to be really hard to beat. And you know what? Nothing ever came close during 24. Like, this is just the top book for me of 2024. I absolutely adored it. It was so good. I can't say enough good things about it, and I'm gushing, so I'm going to stop now. But yeah, so yeah. Here we have a good portion of my top 10 of 2024. And thank you so much for joining me. And I'd love to know what your top books of 2024 are. So you can either drop me a comment here or jump over to my Instagram and let me know there, because of course I will be posting this on Instagram as well. But yeah, I want to know what books you loved in 2024. And if you read any of these, please do let me know. Thank you so much for joining me in this video, and I will see you soon for more.